Welcome to the Big Cats Women's Program 30th Anniversary Podcast. This week on episode 19, Shae's changed places with Wig as she interviews number 52 to talk all about her journey from that very first season in 1994-95. Hear all about her journey from T-ball on a Friday night through to today, 32 seasons later. So come along and join us as we share in the memories and the moments that have shaped our program. Let's get into it.
Hi and welcome. Hi Simone.
Hello Shae, how are you?
I'm in your studio. Kind of weird being on the other side of the interviewing. But today we get to talk about your journey with the Big Cats, which is sort of you were born into, I think. And there's quite a lot to talk about, so we'll hopefully try and keep it moving and not hang on too many photos and questions for too long. But there's a lot to talk about. So the start, hey? Where do we start?
Well, I thought it'd be good to talk about how I started at the club, I guess, or how I ended up at the club. And, of course, it's for anyone who knows anything. Actually, you don't even have to know anything about me because the name's on the field.
It's right there.
So I was sort of playing for Springvale, and playing baseball was something I think I just had to do. I don't think I had a choice, but I'm glad I didn't. So I started playing T-ball when I was 5 on the top ground, and I have really vivid memories of our junior program back in those days. It was scarily enough the mid to late 80s. A lot of the people who I play with now weren't born then. But yeah, playing T-ball, my auntie Jenny was the coach, and I was really lucky. I played with Albie and Tanya Salick and Benny Bartlett and a heap of other, guys mostly who are still around the club or who I got to play seniors with. So
there you are with your little brother Scotty in your cute little Springvale Junior uniforms.
Cute's an interesting word. I know Lucas Price loves this photo, and he made some very amusing comments on Facebook when I put this up a few years ago, which I sent to Scott because he's not on Facebook. But yeah, that was out the front of Ken and Shirley's greenhouse in Dandenong North. That would have been literally 1985, I think.
Oh, when I was born. There you go.
5 years old.
There you go.
And that's, where I began my juniors and played Friday nights, under 12s with Mick, and that's probably where I sort of really fell in love with the game. I loved T-ball because everyone got to have a go, and I probably wasn't the best, but I just had so much fun and loved playing with my friends. And then under 12s, I realised I'm getting better at this, and I'm actually pretty reasonable. I had, I think I've told you this before, I had real aspirations to play shortstop. So I was playing Friday nights for a few years with Mick. I was like, I just want to play shortstop. I was taking ground balls like every week when I was at the field with Mick because we were stuck there a lot. The only thing was I just struck out every time at bat because I was terrified of the ball. So one week he gave me some time. I'm not going to dismiss that. He did let me try, but a couple of years in, he just said, look, this is getting out of control. Like, you literally can't touch the ball. You're terrified. You stand like 2 foot from the plate. He said, come out the back. I'm going to teach you how to throw a curveball. And he said, this is how you hold it, whatever. And I threw the first one and it moved a little bit, and he went, see, you're going to be a pitcher.
There you go. And
that was it. So it was like literally under 12s where I realised, I'm going to be a pitcher, not a shortstop, and ended up very thankful for that.
It's good. I mean, Mick was a pitcher, so, I mean, he must have had a feel for that too. So, yeah, it's good that you could, you knew how to hold the ball and you got into it. But hitting's quite difficult. It's not, not the easiest of skills to do, so.
Don't I know it?
No, that's it. That's good.
Yeah, so like the junior stuff for me was awesome. I played until under 16s, and then I was just too short, too small, too weak, couldn't keep up with the boys, and it wasn't becoming fun for me anymore to play in the juniors because I just wasn't strong enough to compete. So then...
So back then, just sorry to interrupt, but back then there was how many teams at Springvale for the kids? Was it like a...
Oh, like we had 6 Friday night teams.
'Cause it was a pretty big deal.
6 T-ball teams. Like the place, there were hundreds of people Friday night. And then we had Sunday rep teams. So we'd play club-based stuff on a Friday. And then Sunday there were rep teams. So there was like 2 under 16 teams, 2 under 14, 2 under 12s.
Yeah. And you were one of the only girls around at that point?
Yeah, there was a handful of us, but certainly always one of a few.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Nice.
Yeah. But I was lucky. So I mean, when I say I was lucky, there was no girls baseball to play. But when I turned 14, that's the year the women's league started.
Started up.
So
So at that point, were you pitching? Were you pitching at 14
yeah,
in the women's comp?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I will talk about that. The journey from juniors to seniors seemed to happen really quickly, I guess. And I was thrown from juniors to seniors because I couldn't really play juniors anymore. And then I was playing senior men's because I just played in the lower divisions with my dad, which I love too. So I've sort of played in all areas of the club, played masters as well. So
There you go. All the way through.
the journey's sort of been pretty
So
holistic.
The journey from playing women's to heading into the Victorian women's team. So the first year was 1999. Is that right? So you were you 18? 19?
Yeah. 18 turning
there.
19.
Yeah. So that would have been exciting, playing the first women's Victorian team.
Oh, it was amazing. Like no one, like when people talk about like what do you dream of doing, like, and if you ask some of the kids now, they'd say I want to play in the women's pro league. Well, there was no Vic team at all. There was no Australian team then. There was there was none of that. So you didn't grow up with dreams to play at that level because it didn't exist. A lot of people tried to get me to play softball and said no, there's future in softball. And I kind of wish I'd played softball to go to college. Like that's probably my one regret, that I never got the chance to go and play college ball. But I never liked softball. In fact, I hated it. And I was a pitcher.
It
so
wasn't actually that popular. I don't remember it being that popular. I think it was around, but it certainly wasn't in our circle of sport.
Huffy's a softballer. Shout out Huffy, still playing rep softball now. Walk-off dinger a couple of weeks ago. But, softball for me was never the game I wanted to play. It was never what I was passionate about. And I knew that, like I was a baseball player.
Yep.
So, but, look at everything sort of from the junior days through to moving into seniors, playing with the men, playing with the women. And then that photo's the first grand final we won. And I'll talk a little bit about the journey from the team being established or the program being established to winning the first flag, because that's a pretty famous photo. And I came across this photo when I was preparing the 30th anniversary stuff, and there's a lot of memories and things in that photo.
So we'll backtrack a little bit from this photo. So obviously a few of us came over to Springvale at that point when we started to become a little bit more successful in Division 1. Before that, you guys had the struggles a little bit like we did. I came over from Chelsea. I was 16 when I first met you, 15, 16. Or I played DBA maybe when I was 14, and we met each other at the DBA winter competition where I first met Kat, and she struck me out on a curveball, and I'd never seen one. So that was my first experience. I don't think she struck me out since, but like it was the first experience I had with a good curveball. And then we met each other, and then we went to the state team, obviously, and then played for Australia. But going back into the Springvale kind of rivalry, I remember we were rivals back in the day. And just where the progression happened from that point.
Probably one of my favourite memories is playing a Div 3 South Grand Final at Springvale. And it was Springvale versus Chelsea. I don't think you were old enough to play at this point. This was still right at the start.
Not when I was playing under someone else's name?
No, you weren't. You weren't the Springvale Sharon Oates. You weren't her. But Annie used to hit. I played a couple of seasons with Annie, and she hit in her gardening gloves, and she got a walk-off hit.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it because it was at Springy. It's the first grand final we played in and won. But I was the next batter. So I'm pretty sure she hit 9 and I hit 1. And I was terrified. Like I was 15, probably 15. I was like, oh my God, there was 2 out.
Yeah.
And she got a walk-off hit and I didn't have to hit and we won. So that was pretty cool. But 94. So 94 is the first year. I wasn't old enough to play, actually. I was 13. I turned 14 in December. And Greg Morley was the coach at the time, who was a good friend of my family and a great club person. And he sort of rang Mick and said, look, this team's terrible. They've lost every game. No one can throw a strike. Like, it was a team full of mothers, daughters, cousins, sisters, whatever. Yeah. A lot of them had never played. And, yeah, he's like, will Simone play? And he goes, well, she will, but, like, you've got players who've been playing. He goes, no, look, we're struggling for numbers anyway. We don't have a pitcher. Can you bring her down? So I remember my first game was the first game of January 95, and we're at Moorabbin.
Yep.
And we're playing against Kat. Now, I turned up and I was just terrified of her because she was very big compared to me. I was tiny. Yeah. And I didn't start in the game because obviously I hadn't played yet and learnt all those lessons from my father, thankfully. You know, so I waited for my turn. The pitcher couldn't throw a strike, you know. So Greg calls time. You know, I go out on the mound. I'm just so nervous. And I start throwing, and Mouse, who was their coach, went up to the umpire. He's like, this girl's going to get killed. Like, she's tiny. She's clearly not old enough. And Greg's like, nah, mate, she's 14. She's got permission. You had to get a letter from the parents then.
Right, yeah.
And so I ended up, I did all right. I struck out a few that day, and I think Mouse was like, okay, maybe she's all right. And then we made the grand final somehow. We won every game after that. We didn't beat Moorabbin. And then this photo is our really interesting team. Such a lovely group of girls, and I've got the old Harry Potter glasses on. I was before my time, I think, because I had Harry Potter glasses before Harry Potter was even.
You did, yeah. It was an era. It was an era.
It was. Sort of. But cool memories in that for me, like Gordon, Gorilla, you know,
who back there with the beard.
Who played such an important role in my life, not just as a player but as a person. Him and Lynn, who's in that photo sitting behind me, became sort of like my parents. Mick and Annie didn't come to a lot of my games early on. They had other stuff going on, so he would pick me up every week and pick Huffy up, and he'd drive me to parties and buy us alcohol, and they were just such supportive friends, and not just people but friends, and became like my family. So so we made the grand final. We obviously didn't win because that's the runners-up photo. It was pretty cool that we got there after, I think, the first 3 games the team played, they gave up 120 runs and didn't score one. So it was like 44-0, 38-0, and there was no 7-run rule.
You know, we talk about that now. Like, you know, Springerville's had a lot of success, but you know, I remember those kind of score lines for us too.
Yeah.
And it was tough, but we didn't know any different. So you just kept turning up and played. So those score lines were how it was back then.
I know.
Because we were learning the game.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
No, it's been a massive time for you to be at the club, and to come from the junior program to the very start of the senior program, to the success of the club going forward, and it's been a massive, I don't know, 20, 30 years really for you, 25 time. Years. So of just playing, being with the club this whole time, seeing everything evolve over so many years.
Yeah, it has. I think this is year number 40, so I'm hanging in there, and I still love to play. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So moving on from that first photo, I think the question you asked was what happened next, and what happened next was, we made that grand final somehow. We had our challenges the next 5 or 6 years.
Our first year when a lot of us came over. So after the first Australian team in 2001.
Yeah.
I came over, Kelly Manzi came over, Ella Holligan came over, and Shandell Ross came over.
Yeah.
So the 4 of us that would sort of together over on that tour came over from our clubs to join you guys, and from there we lost the prelim, I think, didn't we? We bailed out in the prelim, which was pretty tough. But that was our first chance, I think, for most of us.
Yeah.
Especially, I think maybe Rossi had a chance prior, but the first time for us, and then the second year we won. So, and we continued to win from that point. So that first year was a great learning curve, I remember, and then it's been nothing but success since. So it was quite a journey from that time.
It was, the first 5 or 6 years of the program were really tough. We didn't have the depth Often, that first year Huffy didn't play. Huffy came in after that, and it was 1-2, 2-1. It's still a favourite saying of ours. You start, and no one could really make an out. So, I'd pitch until my arm was sore, and she'd catch, and then we'd 1-2, 2-1, and she'd pitch and I'd catch.
Yep.
And we still used to lose 30-0 or whatever, even though we weren't bad pitchers necessarily, but we were neither of us struck people out, so people were hitting us, right? But yeah, I think that I'm really proud of the fact that we stuck it out. I used to go to functions and go and watch the other teams play when we were never in the grand final in Div 1, and all the players would be like, "Why do you play at that shit club Springvale? Why are you still there? That club's crap. They never win. It's a crap club. What are you doing there? Come play at our club." And every year I was like, "No, I love my club. It's a really cool place to play, and we all have fun." And and that's the one thing that's probably stuck with me, is that even when we were crap, it was fun. We had the best time, just the best time ever. And it was hard, and it was a real struggle, between game time. But the minute the game was over, and everything was fun, and you'd go and have a laugh, and you'd go and have a couple of beers, and it was just great. So
for you, coming from a little bit of tough times with the club, with the way that you didn't have the depth of players and maybe the calibre of players, to having then people come to the club and then us starting to gain that momentum, how was that for you in that period?
Well, I was proud that people wanted to come to our club, and I never made those phone calls. I think I've been pretty transparent. We called Ella, we were openly looking for another pitcher because I was still the only real pitcher. And we knew if we wanted success in Div 1, we needed more than one pitcher. So, we really wanted Ella to come over, and Rossi had come over and was really committed to helping us build the program because she'd had success at Port Melbourne, and she was a wiser head than me. I was still pretty young, and let's do this, let's do that. And she's like, okay, we've got to come up with a bit of a plan. And so I attribute a lot of that early success and building the foundations of the program to Rossi. And most people wouldn't know who she is and maybe haven't met her. And, but I really respect what she did, and the fact that she left a club that she probably could have had a bit more success, but she sort of wanted a new challenge. So I'm really proud that people could see our club as a place to go, and a place that wanted to work hard, and we wanted to be better. And I think the success we've seen over a long period of time, and I've included this photo on purpose because our success has been built on culture and consistency. I don't even think about winning. I mean, the winning's a byproduct of all the things you do put in place along the way, which is amazing, but we literally came from the bottom. We were the worst. And if you ask people who've been around for 25, 30 years, Springvale were crap, right? But we've come from there to 4 teams. And outside of that culture and that consistency, we've never forfeited. So this is the photo of the 4th team. This is the first game our 4s played, and I played in it, and I just had a ball. It was so cool to play in that game. And I've played a role in a lot of teams over my career and have loved it. I've played Premierships in Div 1, 2 and 3. I've coached all 3 teams. I've been really lucky and fortunate. But we haven't done things without being really prepared and ready to execute and having a foundation below us. And I'm really proud of that. I see teams forfeit 2-3 times a season, and that's not what we're about. We played a lot of games in the late 90s with 7 or 8 players, and we got absolutely flogged. We got thrashed, but we turned up. We never not turned up. There was one game at Melbourne, probably circa 97, 98, and Albie had been out night clubbing, and she was our 7th player, and
good old Albs.
She didn't turn up, and we ended up somehow someone's friend was in the car park or something in the car, and we got 7, and we just got smashed. But took me a little while to forgive Albie for that one.
I remember that, and I remember we just love to play, like literally just love to play. It was never really spoken about winning, actually. I know I came over not to win. I came over to play with high caliber players and to improve my game. That was the reason I came to Springvale, and it was close and it just seemed like the right fit for me at the time. But, you know, it wasn't really something we talked about, but we somehow all had that general want for it. So we had that desire to be better. And I think those years of losing, it sort of humbled us a little bit to then really be grateful for the winning feeling. And then we just never wanted it to kind of stop. So, and then we just started to build, and then all of a sudden we've got 4 teams and we've established ourselves as a really, you know, number 1 club in the Victoria. And
Absolutely.
it's been a real, like, snowball effect. It hasn't really been something we aimed for. It was just something that kind of rolled on and we just continued. So,
well, and I think too we never talk about winning. Like that's not what we do. Very early on when we started to make the grand final, you know, I think we were always like, we really want to win. And I think that's because we wanted to win. We had great aspirations to win, right? Because we hadn't done it before. But over the years, it just became about
what we do.
Executing the little things, putting processes in place and putting ourselves in a position. And I do want to add to that, like our consistency and our longevity and the sustainability of our club. And this is not about me. This is our whole club and our men's program support and the many women who've been involved in this over a long period of time to make this happen, and our commitment to evolving amongst lots of complex things that have gone on in the background, lots of challenges with personnel, people moving on, people getting injured, lots of kids the last few years, and still, you know, and we argue about this. We argue about a lot, but we argue about baseball being a hard game, and I often say it's not. But it's hard to win, even if you're really good.
Yeah.
Even if you're a really good player, it's hard to be successful consistently. Even if you're a really good team, there are external factors that impact your ability to win any given week. So the fact that we gave ourselves a chance to win a grand final for 20 years in a row at the highest level, people can say what they want, but that's simply amazing. I still can't get my head around that. And that's probably more the recent loss from last year, or the 2 losses we had in the finals. You know, and I put my hand up already, like there were some bad decisions I made, but for 20 years, we somehow didn't make that.
No.
Or we didn't make them to the point they cost us. We found a way to win. And that, to me, is just so cool. And I'm so proud of that from our program and our club. Our club, the women's program is part of the club, and the club helped create that. And I think the club should be really proud of it.
Absolutely, and so should you and Mick. And I think having Mick in the early days certainly instilled that kind of belief system and that kind of desire to be better all the time, and that baseball was like the winner. Generally, you know, play the game the right way. The game rewards you in some way. So I think sticking with that kind of process has really helped us. And I think, in a sense, you've been really lucky because it hasn't been all on your shoulders for many, many years. So I think with a few of us coming over, we all were like, yep, I can handle this, I can handle that. And we all kind of did our part and then passed it on to the next one to come and do it. So I think that's really the main thing. I think a lot of clubs have their best players, and then when they're not playing, there's not a lot to come behind them. And then there's a struggle for a few years. But we seem to have been able to sustain that calibre of player and also intensity at the club, and I feel like you've been a main driver of that, but also Mick, you know, from the early days, instilling that into our mindset. So, you know, we have to be very thankful for the club for the support for so many years, and all the scorers and all of the, you know, the parents that would drive everyone there and look after the kids, but everyone involved has been such a big cultural thing for us, and it wasn't something we were aware of. It's just something I think that's kind of naturally evolved. And then all of a sudden we're like, you know what, this is kind of working. We kind of need to make a note about this. There's actually processes
How do
that
we bottle this?
Well, this is it. I think there was a few years ago we're like, do you know what, we kind of have this formula and we kind of need to make sure we're maintaining it so we can actually sustain what we've got and make it a place that people want to be. All of a sudden we have 4 teams and we're still having success. And, you know, last year we were this close to making the grand final again, so I don't think we're that far off still, but, you know, we are having to now dig a little deeper and find, you know, the kids that are coming through, because we are all ageing. It is getting to that point.
Look, I think too the culture is addictive. it's really purposeful the way we do things. Like, I'm still trying to learn how to pitch. I'm still trying to figure out how to get people out. I'm still trying to find the best version of myself as a player, and I don't think I've achieved everything yet. And so I still go out every week, not at the level I previously have, just because of a variety of things that go on in my life. But I'm still like white line fever, like play ball, and I just want to dominate. And it's not as easy anymore, and that becomes more of a challenge the older you get and the injuries you get and the things that happen to you. But on the level of preparation that your life allows you. But I think that's an addictive thing. Like people, like you would have heard Shanna's talk about coming from another club, going, we used to work hard, and then going, like after the first training, going, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Like, do you guys do this every week?
Yeah.
And at the time, we were training twice a week, and she was sort of like, well, what's this all about? So people learn the way and then go, well, I just want to be better. I've got this thirst for being better, and it's been cool to see Bron sort of take that and run with it, because I think that's sort of her motto too, is she's still trying to get better.
And I think with Bron being at multiple clubs and sort of like seeing how each program kind of work, and then coming to Springvale and go, okay, well, there must be something that they're doing that's right.
Yeah.
But it's also the people. I feel like, so many of us have a certain standard, and we just keep trying to elevate that, and that encourages others to kind of come with us. Which they do or they don't, and take their own baseball to the whatever level that they can maintain.
Yeah.
But the hard part's the maintaining it of it.
It is,
so
yeah.
I think for us, it's like it's okay to get there, but how do we maintain it?
Yeah.
There's been many conversations about it, and it's all about, the people that we have at the club and the people we've had at the club over multiple years.
Yep.
Having the import players come, Megumi coming the first time in 2005.
Yeah, she's going to come up later.
Yeah,
So sure.
and just that role that plays within our club as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the people that we've had over the many years, and coaches and volunteers.
Yep.
That create that standard that I feel like we all kind of like to be at.
Absolutely. I think I'm going too slow, so I need to try and hurry up my slides here. But the Berwick Springvale thing, I did think it was important to mention it. There have been quite a few different perspectives on this, and I wanted to give mine because I was in the middle of it, to be honest. And in fact, it was me who probably was the catalyst behind it. And I think Ella coined it very well when she said things were never going to be the same when that happened. But I'd actually go a step further and say that things might have actually boiled over if something didn't happen and if this didn't happen. So, there were, without going into detail, there were quite a few toxic things happening around the place at that time for whatever reason, and I felt quite uncomfortable with that. And, people will have their different thoughts on that and what was going on and what wasn't. But I think at the time I went and spoke to my dad and said, look, this isn't really working. I need advice. And he said, well, you need to figure out what's best for you and what's best for the club. And I said, well, what if we had a second team? Like, what if? And he said, well, what if you helped grow the competition? I said, absolutely. If we got, and we know the women's baseball, the success of women's games is pitching. Mm-hmm. You can't just have another team and not have two pitchers at least. So, having conversations with people. Okay, well, if we got ourselves an import for each of the teams, we could have two teams. So I sort of floated it with a few people, and this was an opportunity for me to ring one of my great friends who'd gone to another club, but she'd played juniors with us, and she was a springy person. So I rang Huffy. I said, what do you think? Is it time for you to come back? And she said, I'd love to. Like, this sounds great. And so we decided to coach together. We had the honour of getting Barkey over and Rissa, who, so it meant there were three pitchers. Unfortunately, I got injured and actually did my knee again on the mound that season. But it was like just such an amazing season, and it changed the face of our club. And you know what? People haven't spoken a lot about this, but Springvale played Springvale in that grand final. And to me, outside of the Berwick Springvale experiment or whatever you want to call it, Springvale played Springvale. We were the two best teams in that division. And that was like, people like Cass,
Janine.
The story of Cass coming in for Barkey, which we told on Cass's podcast.
That's right.
coming back and winning a premiership with Huffy for the first time.
Rosa Guardiani coming over from Chelsea.
Jess Lees, who had coached as a kid. Hightower.
New to the game.
There was a bunch of such cool stories. But, yeah, I think for me, being reunited with Huffy, who I hadn't played with for a long time, and getting the opportunity to coach with her was really fun.
Yep.
And I think that was the catalyst for the club, the program moving forward. Not just for me personally or you or anyone individually. It was, okay, things are different, but we're taking a bit of a different course, and this might be the best thing.
And I think that had been building. I think that was kind of the issue a little bit, that the club, we were quite successful without maybe putting in the work. And I think that was, I know for me, that was a frustrating point for us. And, we were like, well, let's do this. And what's the worst that can happen? We can go back and hopefully everything's okay. But, we needed something to change, and that changed. And I feel like baseball was better. I felt like we were better. The club was better. I know things did change because we had such a good thing going, but I think it was almost coming too easy for us, and I feel like that was at that point for baseball. And I think if people criticise, you would have criticised Springvale in any way, you can't criticise us for wanting us to have a better program, like a better baseball program, and trying to spread that. We've put teams in Division 1, 2 of our teams in Division 1 for many years, and we've done different things, and we've tried to just make sure the game is retained. We don't want teams dominating. I think that's always been something our program's been very passionate about.
100%.
And that
then,
year was like that for us.
And it went on. So this was the Pumas year where we, Berwick Springvale won, and then the Pumas won the next year, and the Pumas were sort of down and out. This game's come up a few times and we've talked about it, but that game was pretty much over. Doncaster had it won, and then in the last inning, our bottom order somehow made it happen and we won, and that's one of the coolest victories. I think the comeback, a lot of the grand finals we've won have been pretty clear. Even the game against Newport a few years ago where Sour Gummy pitched, it was 4-3, but it never felt like we were going to lose. It was, we were going to win that, So I think that's been pretty cool. I included this one because it was the first of the grand finals. So my memories are all sort of little moments in time, I guess. It's hard to break down 32 years in an hour and a half or whatever it is. But this was at Essendon. This was just after I'd turned 40. And one of my favourite moments, or probably personal success for me, was coming back after 40 and throwing the next 3 grand finals. And I probably thought I was done and dusted. I'd, hadn't been pitching as much, and I'd spent a lot of time with the Emeralds and busy with work stuff, so hadn't been playing as much. My knee was no good. And then I believe it was you, was like, well, we need a pitcher, and Gab was struggling a bit. Vic had gone. And so I did throw before this as well in another grand final where I pulled my neck out. That'll come up later. But this was at Essendon, and we won 7-0, and it's one of probably the best games I've pitched. And it was Huffy's last game, and we had Billy Ray's jacket out the front. That was such a cool day.
Yep.
And our twos won as well.
That was
and
the
I was
first year
we'd
had that happen. So generally one team
won
or one
That's
lost.
right.
So this was the first year that we had both of them in and both of them won. So it was a very special day. I remember it
That's right.
very well.
Yeah.
It was a great day. We've always been very strategic with our finals selection and everything like that. So it wasn't so we do need somebody. We thought you were the best choice.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think there's been opportunities for us to pick different teams and potentially give ourselves a better chance to win. Not saying our teams haven't always been really high quality, but there's been years where we haven't picked people because morally they hadn't been around, they'd been injured, they'd been, the first, things, I'll talk about the Div 3 win that we had when Albie coached actually, but I wasn't at that grand final for the ones, so I was lucky I got to play with Albie and win that grand final with her, but I couldn't be at the grand final. I hadn't been playing, I'd missed the whole first half because I'd done my knee, came back, was working really hard, and Mick said, well, you're not playing in the finals because Kat and Ella are pitching and you haven't been here. And I'd Kat and Ella were two of my best mates, so I was like, that's fine. But personally, I was like, well, this is shit. Like, I feel like I'm ready. I want to pitch. And then, like, 2 weeks later, I won the Golden Arm at Nationals. Yeah. And you guys lost that day. That's the only Div 1 grand final I haven't been at because I was playing at Springy. But, yeah, I've never forgotten that one and probably won't. But but injuries, yeah. So this photo is me. I'd pulled my neck out. I was coaching the threes in the morning, somehow pulled my neck out, putting a catcher's mask on, and was in tears. I called you. I know I called you because you were coaching.
You called me and I was about to leave, and
And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here.
So what did we do? We did some work in the treatment room.
Yeah.
Some painkillers.
Yeah.
Got you out there. Pitched 7 innings. We won the game.
We won. Couldn't see the catcher. Couldn't turn around, but we got it done. Yeah. But yeah, some of the success we've had, like playing at Springy, Super Saturday. This is playing with Billy and Albie and that grand final that I talked about. Bittersweet because I wasn't at the ones, and probably created like extra drama that we didn't need because Albie ended up bringing me into pitch with my giant knee brace because Deb was a bit tired and she'd thrown the whole season or whatever. And I came into pitch and we won. But I think what stood out in this one and the reason I wanted to talk about it is because Albie had been around the club a long time. And I think for some people, Albie was the funny one. You know, she's out doing the dancing with a cigarette, at the 20 worst in Frankston, whatever. And whilst she was quite well respected around the club, I'm not sure she thought she was as important as she was. And I was so happy and proud of her this day because it's like she got the game, like she got to win. She got to be the coach. She was playing.
Well, she'd been playing, around a long time. Yeah. And she had that competitive edge. She probably just didn't have the discipline that we had when we were applying things. And she knew she didn't have the skill level that you had either. But she knew her place and she was a very competitive person when you asked her to be. And she wanted it this year and she got after it. And
she was awesome.
She really understood what it meant to win too. So it was a great time for her.
Yeah. And Billy, that day meant a lot to him. The success of all of our teams. So, as I said, I played in Premierships in Div 1, 2 and 3. And this one was bittersweet too because I hadn't been around as much. So I didn't pitch in the ones. Gab had thrown the whole season, so she pitched. I pitched in the 2s against Doncaster and we won. And it was lucky. Hannah hadn't been around either, so she played. I had the kids, H.E. and Maddie and Lily, and then I had the old heads like Val, EJ, Cass, Minnie, Doddsy. Like it was super fun. And I think for the kids like Balin and Lil and H.E. and Maddie, they all really looked up to me and to us. And so I think getting to play with them was fun for me, but fun for us. I'm not going to talk much about this because it's Sour Gummy dominating, and that's one of the greatest days in the club's 32-year history was that game she played, and that season will go down in history as one of the best ever.
Can we pause it? I really need the toilet again. Sorry. I'm like, all right, the people, Simone.
The people.
The people.
Well, I won't. I'm talking too much, so I'll try and hurry it up. But probably can't go past mentioning my father. I don't think my brother's spent a lot of his time loving women's baseball, and my mum's probably in the same boat. They haven't watched me play that much, but Mick taught me pretty much everything I know about the game, and he's still teaching me.
I think all of us,
And Mick, from a club point of view, like he's been so supportive of our program. The program probably wouldn't exist in the way it does without him, and hence we have our award that we name after him. My grandparents, Bill and Ken, so obviously the field's named after Ken. Ken from afar was like just so supportive and so proud. And Bill saved us, I guess. Like Bill, I rang Bill and said, can you please come and help me? Like I don't really know what to do. There's all these women who really can't play and I need help because they're going to need a lot of training. And I remember he rocked up and he was like, right, I see what you're saying. But he saw their determination and he saw their will to get better, and he saw how much work they were putting in particular at the time in comparison to the men.
Definitely.
Like our women were training in the dark, and
Yes.
and he would, he was always like for his older age, he was always trying to evolve. So like he'd print off his sheets, and like he still probably got some at home.
I do still have them.
He'd print off like what pitches to throw. He came, like I remember him coming to a game. I'd just been picked in the Aussie team for one of the World Cups, and he came to a winter game, and he never told me, and he sat in the car. And then when the game finished, like I remember the next week I went to his house with Nick and Annie, and he goes, I came to your game last week and I've written notes. And he's got like this 3-page thing of notes, and he's like, you threw this pitch and it was just terrible. Why are you throwing this curveball in this sequence, and what's this? And we won the game and I pitched pretty good. But he's like, it's not good enough. And so I think with a mix of him and Nick, hence I still don't think I'm good enough, but Bill became everyone's grandfather, everyone's coach, everyone's mentor, and he was the good cop.
He was. And then I think for for me, he was just consistently there. He showed up for us all the time. We needed someone like Bill, someone like Mick that was loud and, very direct. And Billy was in the background kind of like explaining it to us and giving us like a consistent foundation, and was harping on about warm-up and about gym programs and everything like that. And we were like, we kind of like doing our thing. But, I would go to your house and we would do his, free weights with this handmade thing that we welded together in the backyard in the cold weather, and we'd be doing this printout sheet of exercises, and I could go around there any time and just talk baseball with him.
Yeah.
But he taught us how to sort of get the foundations right and think about the game.
Yeah.
Without the sort of the noise that Mick had, so he was good for us.
Moving on. This is Felix looking at the trophy, but I talk about Bill a lot, not just in front of Felix, but in front of lots of people, because the legacy that he left is so important. And I would hope that no one comes to this club and doesn't know who Bill is, just because he deserves that. Like Mandy's, we're like sisters basically. We have a very love-hate relationship. Like sometimes we go 6 months and we refuse to speak because we have some kind of altercation, or we don't get along. And we find our way back because we realise how much we love the club.
Of course.
And then we're okay.
Yes.
Mostly.
And have that respect for each other as well, for many, many years of service to the club, to the game.
Well, she, it's easy when people ask me why I play, and I say, well, it's family and the club's named after it. Like, she plays for those reasons. Like, it's not necessarily her grandfather on the the board out the front, but it kind of is. Like, my family became her family, and now, there's a bunch of us that are family. So she's been a support to me for a very long time. There's not many people that would go away from the club and stand up for me the way she does. There's not many people who would be willing to say a bad word about my passion or my commitment or my values in front of her, because she'd tell them to shut up. And I really respect that about her, and I love that about her, because I don't feel like I have that many people like that in my life.
Yeah.
But I know she'll do that, and she's done it, like, without digressing and going into Emerald stuff. Like 2018 Florida's will always be a really difficult thing for me to think about, talk about, remember. And she was on the sidelines, and she was copying a fair bit of, comments from people, and, she was the one standing up for me, and I'll never forget that. And she's travelled the world with me to multiple countries, Canada, the US, Japan.
You don't really forget a lot, do you, Simone? There's a lot stored up there.
I do remember most things. And her and Albie, like the early days, like my memories are less baseball and more like, this is Kath Shields' birthday, and we dressed as the Blues sisters, not brothers. But yeah, the times we had off the field and the support they gave me as a young person, like Albie's not that much older, but they're both a bit older. And then, of course, I think I've been really lucky because I've watched you as a player just continue to work hard and continue to look for the magic formula, and particularly as a hitter. And so I was never like that. Although I will say to the kids who are watching this, I actually could hit pretty good back in the day. And I used to hit after Shae in the 2-hole and was pretty good. But, yeah, moving on, like I think that the role you played for me to push me, to motivate me and to be there, like people worked hard, but not everyone worked hard like you worked hard. People think you turn up and you just get 3 hits every week. Like hitting and baseball don't work like that. You hit, 500 or whatever you hit in Division 1 every year because you work hard and you're always trying to refine your swing and, and of course Shanna's, the support she still gives me. Like she's come and watched me pitch in the 2s a few times the last few weeks and, I can see her on the side when my body language is not good and she's getting frustrated and she's looking at me like, stop. And it's know
where you are.
It's it is hard as you get older to deal with that. But yeah, you guys have been super supportive of me for a long time.
Vice versa. I think certainly you being a pitcher, me being an infielder hitter, we've had many moments where you turn around and look at me and expect me to field those balls and. I would apologise if I'd miss it, and we both wanted it the same. Both had very different approaches to the way we played the game, but equally wanted we're passionate about it. And I feel like, we've certainly pushed each other for a long, long time. And times when I felt doubt, you pushed me, and times when you felt doubt, I pushed you. And I think that's allowed us to kind of continue that longevity, not only with the club, but in baseball in general, in all aspects, you being my coach for a long time. And, we've certainly been pushing each other for a very, very long time. And it's been great.
Yeah, and the same, like when the Berwick-Springvale discussion happened, I remember Chevy came to me and she's like, well, why is Shae going to the Berwick team? I was like, because she's my mate. she's my best mate. Yeah. She's coming to my team. Sorry. You can have any other players, but she's coming to that team.
That's so where I wanted to be
She did ask the question, but like this crew, so, Huffy, myself, you and Rissa were part of that Berwick team and then part of the Springvale Pumas the following year, and like just such a special group of people.
I think that photo's quite interesting if you even look at our faces. Like there's, it's pretty serious.
Focus.
It's pretty serious. And I'd say that we were very focused at that point in our lives, in our baseball career. Like Rissa had come over to kind of try and enjoy the game a little bit more and see it from a bit of a different angle. And Huffy was back into it. Shape the head, there's always something going on if you shake your head.
No, they're great memories, and I think it made
it was a good time in our lives.
The experience better having that little crew. Like there were heaps of other people, by the way, but like that crew in particular was like our ride and die little crew that you knew that within that little core we were going to do something. We were going to make something happen, and then. We were so lucky to have Mitch and Ryan. Yeah, when Val came back to play, and she came back to play when I was recovering from one of my 25 knee injuries, and I was in the 2s with her, and the kids came down, and she's like, "I'm not sure I can play because I've got the kids, but they're getting a bit older." And she played one game, and we just all played with the kids, and she's like, "This place is awesome. Like, I want to play." And then she did, so she was back for quite a few years. And I put this photo in too because of Arbe. So Arbe ended up becoming like my sister. She became not a friend of mine. She became part of my family. And I just miss playing with her. She was not the most skilled player. She had great skills, by the way, but in the league of the players I've played with at the club and at other levels, not even in the same sort of breath, but her determination and her loyalty, you could not ever question.
And I think too, she found her place in baseball. I feel like in Japan it's very challenging, and if you're not at that calibre, you get a little bit pushed to the side, you don't get to play as much. And I think she found her ability to free up her game. Like she was picking balls. She was hitting the ball with power.
Yeah.
You know, she started to relax a little bit and enjoy the game. And I think that's what she fell in love with the most, is what she could do for us. And I remember in the final, we lost by 1 run in that last one against Essendon. And she was like, I know I've got to get these hits and I know I'm going to step up. And she really did. She performed for us that day more than I've ever seen her play before. And the freedom she had, you know, I think we really gave her that sense. So
Yeah, my memory, so that was the day the 2s won at Cheltenham, the 1s lost. And after the game, I played catch with you, Rissa and Abe. And we just threw the ball around until it got dark, basically, and it was so much fun. But all our imports, Kate, that's a really bad photo, Kate, sorry, but just recently inducted into the Canadian Hall of Fame, so a big congrats to her. But
congrats, mate.
All the imports became our family, but they taught us so much about the game, and unfortunately we didn't win the year Kate was here, but we had a ball, and she played in our men's. And then Rissa, who just... Like, she came, I don't think people really realise how good she was. It's funny, when I went to training and saw her the other day, and she'd been telling her girls that Simone used to pitch and she was pretty good, and, you know, they asked, like, who was better? Were you better or was she better? And I was like, well, you were way better. She's like, no, we were different. Mm-hmm. But I remember when she came out here, the Japanese team had a new pitching coach who was not very nice and was treating her pretty poorly, and so there was some demons there. She started to question what she was doing. They were trying to change her action, and that Berwick Springvale season we spent a lot of time talking about the game and approaches to the game and how to find a way to get through when you feel like you can't, because as a pitcher it can be really lonely up there. And I just she taught me, and she's still teaching me about the game. And then obviously went on to coach with her for the Adelaide team at Nationals, and then she came to Florida as our pitching coach, and she's gone on to win 2 World Cups. So I'm so proud of her and what she's done on and off the field. But she will go down as one of the best pitchers in women's baseball that I've ever seen. Just her ability to control a game. She didn't have the best off speed and she didn't have the best fastballs, but she knew the game. And you see that when she coaches. Like, she's a step ahead of everyone. She already knows what is going to happen, and she's preempted it by planning. And she's got plan A, B, C, D, E. So if that one doesn't work, she already knows that she can go to that one or that one. So, look,
I think too, when you compare the two, like when you talk about who was better or not, I don't think it's really about that. And baseballs, I think that's what I love the most about baseball, is that we all have our different skills, we all have our different talents, and I wouldn't say it's always about who's better, but it's about the quality of the player, right? And then what we can get out of that player. So she understood that, and I feel like her playing with us allowed her to play multiple positions. She got to see the game from a different angle. She got to hit, which not many pitchers get to actually compete in the box, especially in Japan. You know, she'd take ground balls at shortstop. She'd take ground balls on the mound. She would always move herself around to try and understand the game. And for her, it's a feel thing. You're a little bit more structured, but she's more a feel. Like, she's very much off feel of how it feels in that moment as to what decision she's going to make. And as a coach, I feel like that ability for her to experience that was helpful. But yeah, you certainly definitely different pitches for sure. You were the control and she was speed, and
different in our own ways. And then getting to play with Barkey, bringing Barkey into the family. Kay didn't play for Berwick Springvale. She played for Springvale but lived with me, and that's obviously her with Scott. We were at Scott's place at the time. And then Megumi was our first import, and that's 2005. And then she came back to the Melbourne tournament and got to meet Felix, which was pretty cool. But Megumi's been part of our family for many, many years, and it was so cool to have her back at the 30-year anniversary function and see her talking to some of our kids who probably wouldn't, unless we run that function, they'd be like, well, who's this Japanese person? Like, she's coaches and whatever, but who is she? She made a real impact, because I think we felt the cultural impact of her. Like, she didn't know the game. Like, she was stealing. I remember we were winning a few games by 10 runs, and Mick's like, stop, you can't steal. She's like, what do you mean? It's disrespectful. And he goes, well, no, not in Australia. And she said, well, in Japan it is. And he said, well, it's not Japan. And he had a go at her and sort of said, well, if you're going to play here, that's an unwritten rule here is you don't steal. So she didn't. And Jacko and Sloane and Minnie, I could go on about all of them, but have just become such great friends to me. And we've been through a lot of different things together.
So just to butt in a little bit before we head into sort of another segment, the Japanese side of things and the different cultural experiences we've had over many, many years, it's really elevated the club too, hasn't it? With the homestay, with having them through our first program, second program, the two teams.
Yep.
I feel like we sort of started that, and now the other clubs have started to embrace it as well. Not all of them, but some of them. And I feel like it's been a great thing for our baseball in Victoria, and something I think other maybe states might start to do at different times too, or are starting to do.
Yep.
But, those first few years with Magumi bringing that Far East team down, we got to have that honour of looking after the girls. And, at the moment we've got the Rough Diamonds program here, and, they were still getting that cultural experience. And I feel like that's been a big part of our club, hasn't it, over many years?
It really has. It's been such a significant part. We've been really lucky, and I think the club sees value in it, not just the women or the women's program. It's the club who, like, we've had so many cool, like, amazing imports in the men's program, and like vice versa. So that part's been really cool. I'm trying to get through quickly as I know I'm going over time. Poor old producer Jeremy's going to fall asleep. But like the kids, I just wanted to mention the kids because the kids are not the kids really anymore.
No,
like
not at all.
They're old ladies now, not really girls. But it's been so fun to be part of their journey so far and to see them grow, probably mostly as people, not just as players. Gab's become one of my best mates, and I feel her struggle a little bit because I think, it would be no secret she spent quite a bit of time in my shadow, and probably early on, she was on the Vic team and had a bit of success, and the early comments were probably, it's Simone, it's going to be Simone. They look alike, which is good for me because I'm 20 years younger suddenly. But I think I'm not sure that's helped her career the whole way along.
Yeah.
She's sort of had to deal with probably a bit of commentary, and she's done really well. And I know she respects me a lot, as I respect her. But those few years where she'd pitched a lot and then I sort of came in at the last minute, I know it would have been hard, but she's never, ever wavered in her respect for me and for the club and for the decisions we've made because she wants to win. And I think she's grown up in that culture of...
And she knows how to play a role. I feel like Gabby just wants to contribute in any way possible, whether that's off the field, on the field, on the bench. Whatever it is you need Gabby to do, she's one of the best club people we've had in our program at a young age. And I think she knew that early on. That's what was important to her, and that's why it's a big deal when she plays for the club. So she probably puts a little bit more pressure on herself because it means so much to her. And but yeah, definitely trying to be the next Simone. It's not an easy thing to do. So, and really probably not attainable. But I think she's learning to establish herself as Gabby. And it's been awesome to see Gabby grow up into who she is today.
Yeah, she's built different, Gab. And Bay and Aspen. So the three of them have become good mates of mine. They're not just teammates, and got a little chat, and we, it's usually talking rubbish, but it's a bit of fun, and they keep me young, and they challenge me a little bit, and they challenge my knowledge of current music and other things, which is good fun. But I should say thank you to them for often the parents or the younger players talk about us being role models and mentors, but the kids are really important.
Absolutely.
Still in my journey and will be, but it's really fun to see them grow and develop. And
all right, next segment.
The moments. And I'll try and get through this quickly, but these are a couple of the moments, and people may not sort of realise these, but these have been important to me. That's me coaching against my dad at Springvale, playing for Berwick Springvale, sitting on the other side. So there were so many elements to this. We were supposed to play the week before.
Rained out.
Barkey wasn't there. Cass was playing third.
Yep.
It was, it was pretty damn amazing. And I still got that record 1-0 coaching against him. So And then on the right was a Division 3 grand final when I was coaching the threes, Balin catching, Emily Devine pitching, and I went out and we were getting annihilated. And I just said, girls, it's moments like these that build your character and it'll make you make you into the people and the players you want to be. So remember how this feels. And it was sort of based off you and I that first year we didn't make the grand final and we sat in left field and we had a cry and let's never feel like this again. And we didn't. We worked really hard and there's been moments, but it's across the board, you know. And then the threes grand final, like I got to coach a bunch of the kids, but a bunch of the oldies who I loved, like Sue and Robsy, Nana Neen's in there, Mandy, Deb, Gab Kaves, and then the kids. It was sort of that was the first year they played. Like they were only just old enough to play at all. And I had Riza as my assistant coach, who was just a sweetheart. My 30th was pretty cool because you guys had organised some pretty cool little shorts with 52 on them. And we had some good fun in that team. We had some good fun that day. I remember that. I'm so proud of our club for the stuff we've done around the game, like the Melbourne tournament, Diamond Girls, Super Saturday. So we had T-shirts made. That's Sue in the middle there and Cass on the left. And we just had the best time cleaning the field. And we were so excited. Cass is like, I'm so excited to be on the grounds crew. Like, I've never done that. And so we did it. And the best. And then supporting the men, like the women playing in the men was big. Other clubs didn't do that. Like the first few years of you and other players playing in the men's, the other teams were like, what are you doing? Like girls can't play in this league. And I remember like Mick and all the boys, to their credit, were like, yes, they can. And you better watch out because they're actually better than you.
Well, they actually asked us to play. I wouldn't say that it was always like, can I play? Can I play?
Yep.
I was asked to play and then, we were good. Like we could hold our own and we're always very thankful to Mick for making us feel so accepted and wanted in those teams for many years, even when it was sometimes questioned by some players in the men's program, why the girls playing, they get to play Saturday, you know, but we held our own and gave it the best and we won that year. That was so much fun.
That was such a good game and it was such a good season and really lucky to have the support of the club, but watching the girls play in the men's has been awesome and still is. And then this moment, I don't think anyone will remember this, probably not even Chevy, but this was like pretty much the last inning. Kay Matsumoto was rounding third, as you can see.
Rish is on the mound.
And the ball was thrown wild to me at first.
Probably from me, was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to mention it and then you said it.
I kept it low.
And it's hard to see this. I'll try and include this when I edit this podcast. But you can see Rissa's face on this shot.
She's got it.
Her mouth's wide open and I remember coming off and Rissa's like, we just won the game. Because that run would have, I think it was like 1 or 2 runs, the difference.
Yeah, right.
And it was nice to get Chevy out too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chev. And then like little things like that people forget, like getting to play in that big Cat Braves team and Rissa came and we got to play with Crep, who's she'll go down as one of the greatest players ever to play in Australia and across the world. Like she was a superstar. That's us having a beer, but she was just such a good person. So to see her in the Springvale uniform and a few of the others was pretty cool.
We're definitely getting the springy hat out there, I tell you. There's
absolutely.
lots of players now that are they're getting a hold of it. So
which is how it should be. And then this is the Melbourne tournament. So proud of our club for what we do around this tournament. But like we had an All-American girl, one of my best mates, Lesko, and we were on our field, watching a league of their own. I'm not sure it gets much better than that. So I had to include that. And we'll never forget the sprinklers coming on and Rouser and I were out the front with a spanner trying to turn the thing off and that screen was quite expensive. So
just on that, did you when you were planning that sort of scenario, what was your hopes for that? How did that even concept come up that we were going to watch the game? The movie there.
We were going to bring Lesko out, and I was like, if we're going to bring her out, the movie has to be watched in some capacity. And I was like, I'm going to get a big screen.
Yeah. Yep.
So we did. And that's probably the club's motto. And I should have mentioned this about Mandy. Poor Mandy, I ring her, every month, 6 weeks. Hey, Mandy, what do you think about a 24-hour game?
I was just going to say.
She's like, what are you on about? Like, you're crazy. All right, let's do it. And she initially, I think, always goes, uh-oh, Simone, I say Amanda, and then we get into the ins and outs, and she's like, yeah, let's just do it. And that's what the club does.
It comes together. Like volunteers with like Matt. Matt helped us a lot with a lot of the setting up and the music and anything we've ever done. You just have to kind of mention what we need, and we'll find a way to source it, right? Like, and our club comes together. Men's programs doing the barbecue, the boys doing the canteen. We have a lot of volunteers through all of these things we organise, and everyone just steps up. And actually, everyone really loves it, and it's such a rewarding. Must be a very rewarding thing to come up with the concept and then see it all eventuate. You know, it's a special thing we do at the club, and not many clubs can pull it off, to be honest.
I agree. Yeah.
Into some more photos.
We're
more memories.
We're nearly at the end.
Just on the left there, the Doncaster rivalry. For many, many years. A very passionate time in our lives, hasn't it been?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mention that because, like this season, so I remember May 2025. So what are we? Feb 26. May 25. I rang Bron because Bron had just been announced as the new coach, and I rang her and I said, "Look, can I have dinner with you? I want to talk about next season." And I'd spent a bit of time depressed about, what happened at the end of last season. And I was back at Ozsport. So Sue, shout out to Sue at Ozsport, who always looks after me. I often go over winter and use their cages and their mound. And I'd been training. I rang Bron. So Bron came and met me at the Wheelers Hill Hotel, and we had dinner. She's like, what do you want to talk about? I said, well, I want the ball. Like, I want to pitch. She's like, yeah, okay. I said, but I want to earn it. Like, I want to earn the right, but I want the ball opening day. Like, I want to be the pitcher. And I know I'll have to work hard, but I want to do it. And she's like, absolutely. Like, how can I help you? What do you need? So I immediately was like extra motivated. Like, it was really cool. Like, she was really supportive. Tell me what you need. I think you're still capable. Like, we need you, sort of thing. So I worked my ass off over winter. I was leaving work early. Hope Jeremy's not listening to this part. I was leaving work early every now and then, and I would drive past Ozsport, not too early. I'd drive past Ozsport and go and throw in the cages, and I was doing heaps of stuff, and opening day rolled around and I got to start. So I was pretty pumped. Didn't get a babysitter though. So I rang Cass Ward and I said, Cass, can you help me out? She goes, yep, absolutely. She's a gem. 3:30 rolls around, Cass is delayed. So the team's warmed up. They've done their hitting. I'm in a tent behind home plate with diggers, playing in the sand with Felix. And I was pretty sure at that moment, I was like, this is not going to work for you. Like, logistically, it's not going to work. Anyway, 10 minutes later, she rolls in. So 20 minutes is okay. Warm up. I pitched the game. I pitched okay. We won, so that's the main thing. But I pitched okay, and, Bron was happy. And week 2 rolls around, played third because we had no players. We were missing like 5 people, so I needed to go to third. Bron wanted to give Gab an opportunity. Totally get that. Gab did pretty well. I did my groin. So suddenly I was injured, and I was like, well, this is not helpful. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, I probably could have come back 2 weeks in, and I was like, no, you got to get this right. Otherwise you're screwed for the season. So I waited, got myself right, and then Barkey week was my return, and Bron texted me and she said, hey, it's a big week. Do you want to pitch in the ones? And I said, mate, I haven't been to training. I haven't trained. Gab's pitching pretty well. I can't do that to her. So I didn't. She's like, I respect that, whatever. And I'd already realised game 1 in that little tent. I'm not going to be able to.
Challenging. Yeah.
I'm just not going to be able to play in the ones. And then my mum got quite sick, and she was my babysitter for Tuesdays, and it's really important for Shanna's that she trains. So I sort of said, well, you go. I've never missed training in 31 years. It's your turn to go. And I knew I probably wasn't in a position anyway to, and I didn't, to be fair, I didn't want to take the ball off Gabby either. And I said that to Bron. I said, Gabs, this is what happens. Gab pitches, Simone comes back. I don't want to do that. I want to give her the chance, So my goalpost changed to me wanting to be the twos pitcher and going, I can not train. I won't be as good, but I reckon I can still turn up and help that team. So now I've been like, how do I help the twos? Like, so Gab and I text every second day. What are we doing this week? Who's playing where? What's our strategy? What pitches should I throw? What do you want me to do as a hitter? Because I can hit a bit better in the twos than the ones, so I'm sort of playing a role in the hitting lineup too. How can I help the team win? And how can I reach my own goals, and what are they? Because they're different now.
And I think this is the whole point of our culture, is that, with Val coming back, players that have played before and play a role in our twos or threes programs. And we step into these roles. Same with Gabby did last year. She came down from the ones, pitched in the twos and coached the twos, and they end up winning. I feel like we are very reasonable in our sense of going up and down when needed. And I think the players that maybe struggle with that aren't around. So I think it's one of those cultural things for us that we understand where we fit. And you've done that your whole career, playing down in the threes, winning a grand final with them as you rehabbed your knee, all those sort of things. So
yeah, I'd like to think, and I don't think anyone could question it. Anyone who knows me, that I've always done what's right for the club, probably to my detriment at times. Like I spent a lot of time coaching twos or threes and driving to the ones and not really warming up, and probably doing things to benefit others because I saw the program needed that. Was it better for me to not do that? Probably. And I spent many years coaching and not getting to really train. But I wouldn't change any of it.
I know that feeling too. I think we've all had a little bit of that. I know. And it is hard. It is hard to play when you haven't been training.
Yeah.
But I think you're starting to know that too with us just aging and like different responsibilities and stuff. You have to manage yourself as well. So.
Oh yeah, and I think that's like the fun part of baseball now is pitching's the best thing ever. Like there's no other feeling in the world like pitching for me. Going out there is like I get frustrated, and there's a lot of external things, like not being able to train means I'm sort of doing my training on a game day, which is really not how you should do it, but that's kind of what I have to do. My body won't allow stuff like Cass was talking to Shanna's the other week, and she's like, Wig doesn't look right. Her body's not moving right. And Shanna said, no, she's trying a new release because she can't land on her leg properly because she's had 25 knee surgeries. Cass like, oh, that makes sense. And she's thrown all right. But and then Beck Wright was talking to me on the weekend like about knee surgeries, and I said, yeah, it took like 6 or 7 years to just be able to pitch again because mentally
comfortably, yeah.
Two times, the second and third time I did it was on a mound, and then it was like every time I tried to land, and all the coaches were like, no, just land. I'm like, well, you just land when you've had 3 knee surgeries. It's not that easy. So the mental part of the game still inspires me every week. Like I still want to win.
And so trying to find a way.
The moral of this story is we play Doncaster this week, and Doncaster will be our biggest battle. We haven't beaten them all season. We play them this week for a home final, and then either way we'll play them the following week. So it's in a different team, but I'm playing against a bunch of kids now, but the rivalries for me is still there.
Oh, yes, very much.
Yep. And then Huffy, her last game was at Essendon in that grand final. I've already mentioned that. This is me. I did want to say I used to hit, and this is mainly for Gabby, because I think a few times this season Bron's like, oh, Wig's going to DH, and Gab's like, well, she's not very good. Like, I'm better than her. And I was like, hey, hold your horses there, young one. A, I'm not sure about that, and B, back in the day, I could swing it all right. Look at my green TPX.
Swung a really light bat back then.
my -9 TPX.
I think, though, you're a competitor. I think in the box you compete. I think you've learnt to understand hitting, as we all had to at different times in our careers, is understanding your role as a hitter.
Yep.
You don't have to be the best hitter to have a great approach and a great at-bat. So
no,
you've become a lot better at that and not overthinking the whole process and just going up there and having a great at-bat. And
that's very kind.
It's true.
Coming from someone who can actually hit. Yeah, I've been lucky to have great support. Like my whole Aussie career, I had people like you from my club next to me, and that playing for your country, and particularly for me, like I didn't play a lot. I was sitting on the bench a lot, so I needed the people around me to keep me from not going crazy.
We're very young there, by the way. That's
What was wrinkles? That's a long time ago. And then think like moments for me, like the 24-hour game, like it took so many people and so much to make that happen, but to know that I played a really integral role in that makes me proud. And it makes me proud because Barkey would have thought, A, you can't do it, and B, Granny May, that's fucking awesome. Like she just would have loved it. And to raise awareness for such an important cause and money for such an important cause with such cool people, like looking at that photo, that's when we finished. And I know that doesn't encompass everyone who was involved. There were so many more people, but the girls from Footscray who've become, you know, we just have so much respect for each other. And, you know, it was Ace Day last week and Jamie and Ruby and Shelley came down for it and then Cass and amazing stuff. And
I think it was played in such a good spirit too. Like the whole 24 hours was just played in great spirit, and we just had very good people involved, and they all understood why we were there, and that was a very special moment for all of us.
Yep. Richo, Maddie, Benny, like all the guys who supported us, and like that's Glennie, he plays Masters, by the way, but hasn't played like men's on a Sunday for years, and came down to do a No More shoot because he really wanted to support the cause and what we were doing. And then the anniversary I've already talked about was so cool, like Prue coming back and Albie and all those girls. And then I remember I needed to use this photo, but I remember that third grand final I pitched a few years ago. It was 3 years ago, actually. There were 3 games left, I think. And after the game, you brought a Corona in. And I started crying. And you were like, what are you doing? Like, we won. What are you crying for? And I was like, I realised that my little tiny baby's never really going to see me play at a proper level. And I realised that, and it made me really sad. Like, I've seen a lot of the other players have kids, and they've all seen their parents. Like, he'll never see me play like that. Not that he'll remember. And that made me really sad. And then it made me really happy because we won, and I got this cool photo. And you know, we talked to him about Billy and about Barkey and about all the cool people who he won't get to meet that have impacted me and through me have impacted who he'll become, you know. So that's pretty cool.
I'm not sure he's going to have much of a chance not to know who they are.
Probably not. And then just like little moments travelling with the Springy people. Like, we don't just play, like we go do other stuff, and it's pretty cool. Like, this is us in the middle of Snohomish at a bar with Lesko and Gossie. Diamond Girls, like this is one of the first years of the Diamond Girls program. Nice hair, Gab, by the way. This is one of the first Diamond Girls. Like, you know, I created this with Chevy, and we didn't know what was going to happen, but Izzy's still playing. Yeah, and Izzy's got a place that's hers and where she belongs. We're trying to get her on the pod, but I'm so proud of that.
Oh my gosh.
And then the
grand final night.
Famous grand final nights, like back in the day, Ella and Kat singing Grease and you doing Tina Turner, like and the you know, you having a sore on your head because
I tried to go over the top of that, not
under
it. Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Yep.
And then just the little moments, like there's been so many moments not baseball related where we've all connected and done stuff off the field. I don't know if many people will remember this, and like people like, I don't even know if Gab was, how old was Gab when this was? Oh no, she was around. She was just a kid though, but there were 2 52s in that grand final. Kay was wearing my Springvale jersey and I was wearing a Berwick jersey, but I thought that photo was cool. And then that photo on the right is us going down to watch you play in Geelong. And that was such a cool, we were there for the weekend and everyone was wearing the old Wern Vic tops. And
we had to buy them all back then. And
correct. I've got like 10
We had it kept changing every year,
cupboard.
so we had to.
Yeah. Well, we made it. I tried to hurry up the last bit and get us to the quiz.
There
and
is
we
a
got
lot
here.
to get through. It's just you've got so much knowledge of the club, so much experience. You've got so many memories. There's a lot to talk about, a lot that have impacted you. And as I said before, you don't forget hardly anything. And
I've got a good memory.
it's you remember all these moments, but they all have this little impact on you. And then over time, it starts to really become more, doesn't it?
True.
It makes you feel so different when you go out and play now to when we played 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And like as a club, like we don't really have the same thought process. We've really kind of tried to fine tune what we approach is each year and trying to like make it work for us now.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's been harder and harder, but we're still trying, so it's good.
Fighting the good fight.
Right, the quiz.
The quiz.
All right. You've probably already got the answers.
Well, I've listened to so many people talk about this, so it's hard for me to come up with new ones. But like the Chevy's triple, Cap picking off a Doncaster player at first in the grand final.
That we made coast.
Joe's hit last year in the twos to find their way to the grand final.
Amazing.
But the best on-field memory I've ever had was beating Doncaster in the Springvale Berwick team in that second final. We were up against it. Elsie had passed away 3 days prior.
We finished third that season.
We finished
right?
third,
so we were trying to aim
we beat Malvern
to get to the final.
And then we had to play Springvale beat Doncaster round one. We had to play Doncaster at Doncaster, who probably had the best team on paper that year. And Elsie had passed away. There was a lot going on. I wasn't cleared yet to pitch. I was playing with my knee brace just at first. Barkey started and had struggled a little. You came in at one point.
I think so.
And you did as much as you could. And then in the last inning, I was like, I'm coming in.
Yeah.
And I think everyone was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm coming in. And I pitched in that last inning. And anyway, we won that game. And the feeling of winning that game when we probably shouldn't have, with all the stuff that was going on in my personal life. And the Springy girls all there, like, cheering for us was pretty amazing.
Yeah. It was all
so that's
the
number
right
one.
thing at the right time, wasn't it?
Yep, that's number one. I can't name an off-field moment because there's 32 years of them. Like 24-hour games up there now, I think. They're all at bars and pubs, the Hallam Hotel, the 21st Century Flanagan's, the grand final nights and the shenanigans, Shae with her pizza box, you know, the random stuff that happens.
Shae Day tournament stuff's been awesome too.
Melbourne tournament. And I think like most recently, probably my favourite or most proud moment was the ones not getting to the grand final after 20 straight years and all turning up in their powder blues to support the twos and then to watch. I've noticed over many years, and I've said to you, I think, and to others, if we don't make it, we're going because we're going to support the game. Well, most clubs just piss off and don't turn up. And I just think that's so disrespectful to the game. So we made a real effort to get around our twos, but we all stayed. There would have been 50 or 60 powder blues in the crowd. And I was so proud that our club did that. And we supported our twos, but then the game as well.
It was great. Favourite teammate?
Favourite teammate is Huffy.
Okay.
Because we just share the dumbest, driest sense of humour, and we're both white line fever, can be a bit
You've had
stupid.
your moments. You've had your moments.
Can be a bit stupid and we stuff around, but we want to win. Like, we're really competitive. Like Rissa, I think Rissa brings out something in people that others don't. There's a calm energy about her that inspires you, and she doesn't say anything. It's just how she does stuff. And Kel Manzi and I were never best friends, but she was a really good teammate because she just did whatever. Go play here. Okay. Come in and pitch. Okay. Catch today. Okay. Are you hitting left or right today? I don't know. Do you want me to bunt or... Okay, I'll do that. Like, just... And she was really good, and I think she knew she was pretty good, but she never acted like...
She always had that little self-doubt at certain times, but, yeah, she was very versatile, played a role, knew how to play a role, just wanted to win, wanted to do her bit. But she was a gun. She was a gun.
Yeah. Best player I've played with is such a hard question because, like, hands down the best player I've ever played with is Rissa. And you've already said it, because she could pitch, she could play shortstop, she could play outfield, she could hit, and she knew the game better than anyone. she knew the game better than me when I was coaching her, probably. Like from a position point of view, like if my life was on the line and I needed to pick a hitter, it'd just be you. Like I know you'll get a hit. I trust your hitting. I trust your ability. So from a hitting point of view, there's been no one probably better in the country consistently, let alone our club. And Ella terrified me on the mound. She just had this little aura about her, and she didn't let anyone get in her way.
No.
I was so terrified of her when she played for Blackburn. Like when she ended up at my club, I was like, thank God I don't have to face her anymore. Like she used to just strike me out all the time.
Yeah.
So when she ended up at the club, I was like, thank God.
But the beautiful thing about Ella too was that she was just so different off the field. Like she was the nicest human, and then on the field you wouldn't want to get in her way. Like that difference in the way she competed and the way she was, it was pretty impressive.
She was pretty good on the dance floor at the Helen pub too.
Loved to dance, didn't she, at that time?
Funniest person at the club, I think Huffy's pretty funny. Albie was pretty funny, and I don't think she meant to be. She just was.
She just was funny. Yeah,
we just
she
laughed
funny.
at her a lot, but with her a lot. And then, but I think you and Kat, like I think you and her together, just I don't even know what you're talking about half the time.
Neither do we.
Still now. But I think you guys have made everyone laugh at some point, and that's been pretty cool. Yeah. So you two,
keep
probably
it
for me.
lighthearted at times if you can.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Nick's been my favourite coach.
Yep. It's popular.
And my most hated coach as well, but he taught me everything about the player I wanted to be and everything about the player and the coach I didn't want to be. And I think I've learnt that lesson a lot, that I've had coaches who I initially dismissed and thought they're not very good, but they actually taught me how I didn't want to coach, and that was really important along the journey. So there were ways Mick taught me that I would just say, no, don't ever do that to anyone, particularly women. But at the time, it's the only way he knew.
Correct.
And the girls respected him because he didn't treat the men different to the women. And I respected him for that too. And it would have been hard. Like, you know, there's a question coming up that talks about him. But it
like
would
the
have been
wording,
hard.
you've got their favourite coach. It's not always about best coach. You know, we talk about best this, best that, MVP, you know, number one, all this sort of stuff. But favourite, you know, something that you enjoyed being under. I think that's the difference with coaching. Some coaches are really good for certain things in your life, and other coaches you actually just really enjoy. But so he was a favourite coach for me too. So
and I think Bill's a close second, because Bill wanted to try new stuff, and he wanted to run this weird drill that he'd heard of, and he wanted to find different ways. Mick was a traditionalist. You do it this way and that's the only way. Whereas Bill was like, hey, what if we tried this? What if we ran this? What if we did this with this player? Like, he was probably ahead of his time with the stuff he tried. And I think people would think, oh, he's a traditionalist. But compared to Mick, he was like the complete opposite. He was quite contemporary, and he found ways to get the best out of people, and that was Bill's best quality. He didn't care if you couldn't catch a ball. He was going to find a way to help you catch that ball.
Yes.
He didn't care if you were going to get one hit in a season. He was going to make sure that the time you needed a hit, you'd be able to get the hit. Like, he was dedicated and committed. And
he was great.
Yeah. We finally made it to the last question. Well, this question's too hard because there's been 18 episodes and everyone's already answered it. But like there's been some midweek games.
Oh, yep. Ooh, yeah.
Where like we've given up 8 or 9 runs in an inning.
Yeah.
Probably the circus music would come in. I remember the day Vic played her last game at the club actually, and she after the twos game she was sitting on the sideline. Gabby pitched. I don't know if it was her first game or her second game in the ones, but Gabby was pitching. I was sort of helping out because I'd been away for work or whatever. And we played Footscray, and Footscray scored 9 runs. You were the coach, actually. Footscray scored 9 runs off her. And, like, you'd already said, you're probably going to have to, like, if she keeps, like, struggling, you have to come in. So I came in with 1 out in the first inning, and we were down 9-0. And there were runners on, it was loaded bases, gave up a sack fly, so they scored 10. And then I got out of the inning, so it was 10-0. We won the game 18-11.
That's right.
So
I remember this.
pitched 7 innings or 6 innings and .66.
Clawed our way back. Yeah.
And we never gave, like you talked about that, never give up. Like we just never gave up. And, you know, I remember coming out of the game and after the game, like I said to Gab, like, there's always a way out. And the more times you're in that situation, the better. So I think she's learnt a lot from that. But
I mean, even on the weekend, you know,
yeah,
we were down and up and then down and then up and, you know, 19-15 the score.
Yeah.
You know, crazy game, but no one gave up. And I feel like that's a standard we've really kept for a very long time. Even when it gets crazy, I think we've learnt that craziness is where women's baseball's at.
Oh, 100%.
And it's sort of, we're kind of used to it. So giving up a lot, it's like, it's frustrating, but you know what? We can get them back. And yeah, it does get a bit circus-like at times.
Agreed.
We somehow pull it back and get it done.
No,
so.
of course. But yeah, probably the dog catcher. So I don't think many people except Huffy are around. That's probably the best Mick Wern answer because I've never seen, like, the game was still going. The umpire,
the base running. And Huffy's base running.
Huffy's base running. Huffy, the worst base runner in Australia.
No,
the world. No, the dog catcher for me, and just because then this woman who I don't actually know her name, and she was really nice, so I feel a bit mean, but she became the dog catcher, and we played against her for like 10 years, and every time Huffy and I would turn up, it's like, oh my God, the dog catcher's here. And she never wore leggings, and like it was, I don't know, it was a really interesting one, but that was like a lot of circus music at once, but yeah, there's too many to mention.
Oh, we've had some random things happen over many, many years.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think we've come to the end. People have probably switched off by now, but it's been really fun to reminisce.
I think this is it. You've been interviewing everybody about their experience, and you've been the backbone of the club for a long, long time, certainly a big part of my career. All of us that have been there for over 10, 15 years, you're the driver of all the moral compass of the club. You know, any moral thing we need to discuss, we come to you. And we've all been trying to do our part to try and uphold what Mick and you have instilled in us for a long, long time. And yeah, you've got so many things, and there's still more to come. You've still got that passion and drive, and you know, hopefully when Felix gets a bit bigger and a little bit easier, you can still come back and do the work, and you'll be pitching again in the ones, I'm sure, no doubt about it.
Hopefully,
it's kind of cool,
day.
but kind of sad. But it's kind of cool that you still want to, and I think for me, it sort of drives us. You know, I think I watch Mick pitch at his age, and I just think, oh, what am I complaining about? I got a sore knee too. But yet he's still out there having a go. And I think it's the same for you. It's like, what have I got to complain about? He's still out there as passionate as ever, trying to be better at the game.
It is.
And contribute. And I feel like that's something you've got as well that Mick has sort of taught us.
Yeah, it's very true. I think he's going to play for longer than me probably, which is scary. But just before we go, I do want to thank, like, the people who probably don't get the mentions, like your parents. Like, my parents weren't always watching, but yours were. And they became like my second parents. And like, I still hear Linda when I'm pitching. Go Simone! Yeah. Like, and it's so nice having those people in your corner. And then that led to the Aussie team support and stuff too. But like, and the club, like Daryl's been secretary.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was president for 10 years and on the committee, but he was around when I was a junior, and he's supported everything I've ever done. Like, Joanne sends me text messages. Hey, I saw you won and you got player of the week. Like,
Jenny
I
and
still
Martin.
get that support. Jenny and Martin have been like massive supporters, and not just of me, but
both of us, and the club, and
the club,
kids.
the program, the whatever initiative we're running. They're the first ones to donate money or to turn up, and yeah, I'm so thankful to all the people who've been on the journey, and like, even seeing Bron's passion to try and keep things going. Like, it's, you know, she does have a real respect for what's come before her, and you know, she often asks, whether it's me or Chevy or yourself, like, what do you think we should do? Because I want to do the right thing, and I want to do what Springvale does. And like, I think we're really lucky to have that. Like, a lot of people come in and go, well, we're going to do it this way, but she can see what we've built, and she's seen it from afar, and now she's been on the inside. And so I think that's been really cool for me to watch as well.
And I think, like I said before, we're a bit clear about the kind of the way it looks too. Like, we weren't before. I think we're kind of finding our way, and we're sort of just evolving. But yeah, We've sort of got a bit more formula to it now, which is helpful, right?
Yep, and a big go get 'em to the ones. Like, I'm rooting for you guys, and particularly Gab to just keep going, mate. You'll figure it out, and I'll be there coaching first on grand final day, and I look forward to that celebration and getting back to Dynasty 2.0.
Simone, it's been really cool to go back in time and look at all the photos and the memories, and from all of us, thank you for everything you're the reason I've come to this club. You were the reason I came. For a lot of us, you're the reason we turn up to all the functions. You make us come and you tell us to come. And we want to come now. Like, it was one of those things that we're like, oh, okay, this is what you do. And then I think every person that turns up realise the benefit of being part of the club. It's actually fun.
Come to the music trivia.
Come to the trivia. Come to the Calcutta Nights. Come to this. Come to the Melbourne tournament. Help out. And you get so much joy from it. So you've kind of pushed that and created it. And now we're all just sort of trying to do our bit to uphold it. But it's all because of you and your family. So thank you for everything for the last 30 years of this club being the club it is and the program it is. So
thanks for coming.
Congratulations and keep
thanks
going.
For the chat. I'll be trying.
All the best on the weekend.
You too. Thanks, Shae.
Thank you.